He pitched it as a Western in space.
Gene didn't know anything about science fiction either. He knew nothing about science, nothing about technology. And you say, why him? Because he did know about people.
The pilot was made for NBC with Jeffrey Hunter starring as Captain Pike. Leonard Nimoy was among the cast, playing an alien named Spock. But the second in command of the Enterprise was a woman, played by Majel Barrett. The pilot episode was smart, sophisticated, and darkly intelligent.
It's just that I can't get used to having a woman on the bridge.
It was promptly rejected by the network.
They decided, well, we'd like to get a second pilot, but there are some changes we want to make, Gene. Says, number one, you'll have to get rid of the broad because nobody will believe a woman's second in command of a starship. And number two, you're going to have to get rid of the guy with the ears because he looks too satanic anyway.
Roddenberry, who had become romantically involved with Majel Barrett, had to make a tough decision. He didn't think he could win both battles with the network.
He thought about it. He said he needed the Spock character so bad, and although he knew it was going to break my heart, what he would do was he would marry the girl and keep the guy in, because he didn't think that Leonard would have it the other way around.
My name is Christopher Pike, commander of the Space Vehicle Enterprise from a stellar group at the other end of this galaxy.
Jeffrey Hunter's performance as Captain Pike was one of the few elements the suits at NBC had liked. But Hunter's producer-wannabe wife reportedly went to Gene Roddenberry and announced the part was beneath her husband. So Roddenberry released Hunter and asked an up-and-coming actor named William Shatner if he'd like to watch the first pilot.
So I looked at this thing, and I saw what I thought was magic and something interesting, and the part they wanted me to play was interesting because it was a classic hero.
The budget was minuscule, and NBC's enthusiasm for the series was at best lukewarm. But with Captain Kirk at the helm, the crew of the Enterprise was about to fly into history. George Takei played Sulu, the Japanese helmsman.
I can't understand it. I simply have no control.
Walter Koenig, wearing a Beatles wig to appeal to a younger demographic, was cast as the Russian navigator Chekhov.
Coordinate 712, stroke 4, Mr. Sulu.
Nichelle Nichols played Uhura, the beautiful communications officer.
Captain, we're getting a signal from the spacecraft.
DeForest Kelley had originally been offered the role of Spock, but reportedly turned it down.
Well, come on, help me get him on the table. He'll die without immediate treatment.
He ended up as the chief medical officer, and Leonard Nimoy, his role saved from the cutting room floor, played the half-Vulcan chief science officer with the pointy ears.
Or to examine, in Earth terms, the roles of good and evil.
Majel Barrett was given a consolation prize, the role of Nurse Chapel.
She ended up as Nurse Chapel. That's a long way to go, right? To go from number one to Nurse Chapel.
Star Trek debuted on NBC in 1966, and the cast began a schedule of grueling 16-hour days. The actors were frequently performing scenes the writers hadn't had time to finish yet, often leaving the actors wondering,
where is the next half of this script that I've got on Monday when we shoot the scene on Tuesday?
But if the scripts had been ready on time, we might have missed out on Shatner's trademark, pauses.
Forming one gigantic, highly intelligent mind, and the glowing badges. They indicate the mind in operation.
I was trying to remember dialogue. I think, what the heck am I going to do?
Despite the haste with which it was filmed, Star Trek was television magic, and it quickly developed a hardcore group of fans. But while enormously popular with younger viewers and college students, the show did not get high overall ratings. After only 2 seasons, it looked like it would be canceled. And then a peculiar thing happened.
Captain, I'm picking up a high-intensity reading.
What is that?
It cannot be a phenomenon of nature.
It was a strange new phenomenon, as startling to the suits at NBC as it was to the crew of the Enterprise. The largest barrage of mail in the history of television.
Fascinating.
A letter-writing campaign on a scale never seen before or since. The American public simply demanded that the show be renewed.
We were so angry. It wasn't just that our favorite show was going. It was that it was another darn arbitrary thing the networks were doing. And we were the ones paying for it. Now, they'd had to hire extra people to open this mail. And one of the people who worked on it came and told Gene that they had processed 1 million letters.
Its mailrooms knee-deep in letters, NBC reluctantly renewed the series, but slashed the budget and switched it to a deadly time slot on Friday nights, effectively sealing its fate. On June 3rd, 1969, NBC aired the last episode.
I said, okay, it's done. It's dead now.
By all rights, it should have been. But there was one thing no one had counted on: reruns. Because of the efforts of the fans the year before, Star Trek had reached the magic number of 79 episodes, the number then necessary to go into syndicated reruns. And in syndication, the series finally took off.
In trying to kill this thing off, they had a phoenix arrive in the ashes.
From that fateful letter-writing campaign can be traced all the series that followed. It was the fans who turned Star Trek into the longest-running entertainment franchise in history and helped it to become a defining part of American culture.
I'm a very chatty person. Yes. My good friends, knowing that I'm a blabbermouth, still talk to me about everything. I think they think that I'm Deanna. The next thing I'm on the phone going, did you know? I was originally cast to be the brains of the Enterprise. Suddenly I became the chick. There's this little ugly girl inside of me going, yay, I'm a sex symbol. It's so cool.
How do you choose the best? I'm Jonathan Frakes, and that's coming up later on this special Star Trek The Next Generation marathon. Next Gen on TNN, a 5-day mission. By 1972, Star Trek had already been canceled for 4 years, but in reruns, it was garnering astonishing ratings. Public interest was growing, and that year the first Star Trek convention was held in New York. The organizers figured it would be a small, low-key affair with 300 fans. Over 3,000 showed up.
It was a zoo. It really was. There was no way to get in. There was no way to get out.
But even in those early, overcrowded rooms, there was a feeling Americans still relate to this day. A feeling of tolerance and diversity among the fans that seemed to mirror the core values of the show itself.
That's why the fans relate to the show so much, is because we really are non-judgmental. It's all about the intrinsic being of something, of a person or an alien or whatever you're talking about that week.
A convention was a place where people of all backgrounds and races could get together to share their feelings.
The discovery was that these people were coming to the conventions not only to see the actors, but to see each other. And that there was this feeling of union.
America was finally falling in love with Star Trek. Even in reruns, the show seemed fresh, dealing with topics that were still not being discussed on network TV.
Look at me.
You're black on one side and white on the other.
I am black on the right side.
I fail to see the significant difference.
Loci is white on the right side. All of his people are white on the right side.
Listen to me. You both must end up dead if you don't stop hating.
You're an idealistic dreamer.
In the 23rd century, the Earth had long since solved its racial problems, as witnessed by the tangible presence on the bridge of Lieutenant Uhura.
You know, this is one of the few shows that take place in the future that I saw as a kid where there were any black people. You know, Lieutenant Uhura was there. That gave me a lot of hope.
Well, when I was growing up, what I really thought was wonderful about Star Trek was here was a program that envisioned a future that we had actually gone through a lot of the problems as a society, as a planet, that we were expecting to go through in the 60s, but we had made it through.
In one of the more daring moments of the original series,